In the shadowed corridors of American history, where the echoes of cannon fire and the cries of the fallen still linger, we uncover tales of valor, duty, and the unyielding march of time. Today we examine not one, but two remarkable artifacts from 1872 to 1873, a pair of envelopes on official Pennsylvania government stationery, involving two important figures from the U.S. Civil War era. They are a dialogue between John Frederick Hartranft, a Medal of Honor recipient and a 13th Governor of Pennsylvania, and Brevet Brigadier General David B. McCreary, a prisoner of war turned statesman. Join me as we unravel their stories and the poignant exchange that binds them, revealing the human cost of a nation reborn. Our story begins with John Frederick Hartranft, born on the 16th of December 1830 in New Hanover Township, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, to German-American farmers and tavern keepers. Educated locally, he attended Marshall College, now Franklin Marshall, before graduating from Union College in Schenectady, New York, in 1853 with a degree in civil engineering. He surveyed railroads, including the Mock-Chunk and Wilkes-Barre Line, and served as Montgomery County's deputy sheriff from 1854 to 1861, later gaining admission to the bar in 1860. The Civil War redefined Hartranft's journey. Enlisting in 1861, he became colonel of the 4th Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry, a 3-month regiment. At the First Battle of Bull Run, or Manassas, on the 21st of July, 1861, his men's enlistment expired hours before the battle. Most left, but Hartranft stayed, volunteering as an aide-de-camp. The Congressional Medal of Honor Society records his citation thus: voluntarily served as an aide and participated in the battle after expiration of his terms of service, distinguishing himself in rallying several regiments which had been thrown into confusion. This act of gallantry at Manassas earned him the Medal of Honor award on the 26th of August 1886. Hartranft then raised the 51st Pennsylvania Infantry, leading them through brutal campaigns: Roanoke Island, Second Bull Run, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Vicksburg, Knoxville, the Wilderness, Spotsylvania, Cold Harbor, and the Siege of Petersburg. The Battle of Fort Stedman, March 25, 1865, is perhaps Hartranft's most dramatic example of leadership, altering a battle's course. When Lee's Confederates launched a surprise pre-dawn attack and captured Fort Stedman, Hartranft, commanding the 9th Corps Reserve Division, acted immediately. He mobilized his fresh division to close the breach and coordinated a defensive perimeter that encircled the Confederate incursion by around 7:30 a.m. He managed to persuade Major General Wilcox to relinquish tactical command, taking charge of the defense himself. Observing the enemy begin to falter, he ordered a counterattack on his own initiative, bypassing delays from waiting orders, reasoning that success was clear and hesitation risky. His swift organization and willingness to seize the moment resulted in the recapture of Fort Stedman, effectively ending Lee's final major offensive and hastening Richmond's fall. For this, he was breveted as Major General by Ulysses S. Grant. Later, Hartranft was appointed both commanding officer of the Old Capitol Prison in Washington, D.C., and a special provost marshal during the trial of those accused in the Lincoln assassination. He oversaw the executions of George Azerodt, David Herold, Lewis Powell, and Mary Surratt. She was convicted of providing a safe house and aiding her co-conspirators. She would be the first woman executed by the U.S. government. On the 7th of July, he carried out this task with stoic resolve, although it weighed heavily on him. As a Republican, Hartranft served as Auditor General from 1866 to 1872. Before becoming the 13th Governor of Pennsylvania in 1873, he served in this role until 1879. His administration ratified Pennsylvania's 1874 Constitution, curbing corporate influence, and navigated the 1877 Great Railroad Strike with a balance of force and reform. The recipient of this letter, Brevet Brigadier General David B. McCreary, was one of the first men to enlist after President Lincoln's first call for volunteers. Organizing the 83rd Pennsylvania Infantry before raising Company A of the 145th Pennsylvania, he was commissioned captain and rose to colonel by September 1862. Leading his regiment in the Army of the Potomac's 1st and 2nd Corps through Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville. He became a prisoner of war at Chancellorsville in 1863. He was held by the Confederates till his exchange in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1865. Breveted Brigadier General for gallant service, he mustered out of the 31st of May, 1865. Returning to Erie, McCreary resumed a farming and lumber business while joining the Grand Army of the Republic to support veterans. As trustee of the Dixmont State Hospital, he championed care for those scarred by war, a mission reflected in his 1873 correspondence with Hartranft about Swanscare, as you will see. Politically, as a Republican, he served in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in 1870 and 1872 to 1873, and later as a state senator for the 49th District from 1889 to 1896, advocating for veterans' pensions and infrastructure. Okay, so let's analyse these two covers. Both of them are printed by Singley and Meyer, printers in Harrisburg, and both are addressed to General David B. McCreary. This letter is sent by Hartranft during his tenure as Adjutant General of Pennsylvania, and we can see here we have a 3-cent Washington, probably a late use, and tied by a fine Harrisburg duplex with a kind of cogwheel fancy cancel. There is a letter with it which fits the time period of Hartranft being the Adjutant General, although it's an undated reply from General David B. McCreary and contains no real content of historical importance, just an acknowledgement of the receipt of a letter. And as referenced to the second letter, which is this one, and now of course this is from the Executive Chamber, 1873, when he has become the 13th governor. Hartranft has become the 13th governor of Pennsylvania. It's franked with a 3-cent green Washington tied by a very fine Harrisburg 73, as you can see here, hand stamp. And this one carries Hartranft's agreement to aid veteran UGB Swan, likely at McCreary's urging. So I'm going to read this later in full, but just to show you, it's also on stationery from the Executive Chamber, which is quite beautiful in itself. As you can see here, Executive Chamber, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, June 19th, 1873. And the contents, to do a summary of this letter, the contents of this letter relate to the governor responding to the general's request on behalf of Eugene B. Swan, a Pennsylvania Civil War veteran. It seemed to suggest an agreement to house and care for him. This makes sense, as during this period McCreary was a trustee at Dixmont State Hospital and must have taken the welfare of Civil War veterans very seriously. General McCreary would later return to being a Republican senator for the state of Pennsylvania from 1889 to 1896, as I might have previously mentioned. He was also a senator in 1886, 1887, and 1870. The reverse of this envelope is quite interesting. If we look at the back, you may have noticed this earlier. There's a pencil-scrawled note from the general as an aid to a memoir, and it reads, as you can probably see, "Letters to me when in June 1873 when Ma was home." This and the clear cross, as you can see here, maybe the outline, I think, yes, it does appear. This indicates an outline of removed twine, suggesting that this existed somewhere in Pennsylvania in a stack, and that Hartranft's correspondence was probably quite large before it was broken up and it found its way to me. So just to conclude the story of the generals, Hartranft later was a collector of the Port of Philadelphia from 1879 to 1883, Warden of Eastern State Penitentiary, and Major General in the Pennsylvania National Guard until 1886. Hartranft died on the 17th of October 1889 in Norristown from Bright's disease, which is a kidney disorder which we reclassify as a different thing today. And he rests in Montgomery Cemetery, his legacy immortalized by statues at the Pennsylvania Capitol and Vicksburg. McCreary died on the 4th of February 1906 in Erie, aged 79, and was buried in Erie Cemetery. His papers are held at institutions like the University of Michigan, preserving his legacy. I hope you enjoyed this dive into what is a collection of letters from the US Civil War, and look out for more postal history stories. Like, subscribe, and comment below. See you on the next one. For those who are interested, a complete reading of the 1873 letter will follow. Okay, so this is a fairly straightforward letter to read. I may make one or two mistakes, but it is quite
straightforward. Usually with older letters, the further you go back, at least in my experience of reading English, it gets the handwriting gets more complicated. It's not Victorian copperplate, so let's give this a go. As you can see, it's the 1873 letter, which has been sent on the 19th of June with the beautiful Executive Chamber, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania header. And the letter begins, "Dear General, your letter in reference to letter on behalf of Eugene B. Swan, Esquire, will be forwarded by this or next mail. I write this in answer to post and leave receipt. It is simply no problem for Mrs. Muck and Sophia to make them housed at Mrs. Epps. I want them at our house and to make their arrangements from them to wish their friends. It is not the least trouble but a pleasure to have them. Let them order the omnibus," I believe is a type of horse-drawn bus, "to stop at the mansion house, and I will see that their minds will be agreeable. Yours sincerely, J.F. Hartranft."